Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Ozarks First Digital Desk. I'm Parker Padgett,
I'm Tony Nguyen.
and we're doing another installment of our Vinyl Vault. This week, we're talking about Wham's second studio album, Make It Big. It's an album that actually almost literally made them big, Tony. Kind of talk to me about your perspective of this album.
Yeah, listening to it, I knew at least two of the singles, "Wake Me Up Before You Go" and, "Go Go,"
Go, go.
and "Careless Whispers." So the beginning and the end of the album. So it was interesting to hear how it was all kind of placed together. Honestly, it's not my genre, and listening to the non-hits were a little rough, and I did find myself spacing out or wanting to skip. But even the hits, was Freedom and
Yeah, Freedom's on here. Everything She Wants
Everything She Wants.
was one of those, I believe, one of those singles. But yeah, this is kind of your quintessential, stereotypical '80s pop. A lot of drum machine noises, a lot of synth, a lot of bass lines played on a piano versus the traditional bass guitar. And this, it's an album that it was very successful. It was number one on the Billboard Top 100 for about 3 weeks in 1985. Yet only garnered one Grammy nomination, and that was for "Wake Me Up Before You Go Go." And so, some interesting facts about this album. If you look at the inner sleeve of the vinyl record, it says that George Michael wrote all of these songs except for two. Careless Whisper he wrote with the other half of Wham, which is Andrew Ridgeley, and then If You Were There was written by three other writers. But if you're looking for that pop, that pop sound from the '80s, this is definitely that album. I did want to talk about some of the songs themselves. "Wake Me Up Before You Go Go." That's one that a lot of people, they may recognize it simply just from the title with the go go, but once that jitterbug hits and the snapping, it's almost a must have on every like summer back patio playlist. Everything She Wants is one that can easily get stuck in your head if you're not careful. And then the last two, "Heartbeat" and "Like a Baby" on side A of the album. Not their best hits. "Heartbeat" is a little catchy. It's kind of like that canned '80s stereotype sound. And then side two, you had "Freedom," "If You Were There," "Credit Card Baby." I don't know a lot of people that know "Credit Card Baby." It's a song about how George Michael's letting his girlfriend borrow his credit card.
I think listening to it, I laughed, but was like, "What are these lyrics like?" It's so, and like the music doesn't really match what's going on, and he's so enamored with this woman, and yet she's like, "You know what? I'm just gonna give you some money."
Yeah, it's a poor financial advice
Yeah.
from Mr. Michael. And then the last track on side B, "Careless Whisper." Now, if a lot of people might have seen this, Tony, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a documentary on Netflix about Wham. And it's not your typical documentary. It's kind of told through archived video with archived interviews from the two members. They don't have anybody sit down and talk in the present day. And in that documentary, I remember very clearly, "Careless Whisper" was, if I remember correctly, not meant to be on this album. This was kind of George Michael's intro into his solo career, and it was kind of one of those songs where I think, like I said, I'm trying to remember it clearly, but the gist was that the song was very good. They wanted to put it on the album to kind of see if it would like jumpstart his solo career, and obviously, I would argue it's probably their biggest hit. I think this album would not have skyrocketed as much as it did without "Careless Whisper." And that's no slight to Andrew Ridgeley. He did help write "Careless Whisper," but that's definitely the backbone of this album. It's one of those ones where if you play it on vinyl, for me specifically, you kind of just want to skip to "Careless Whisper" and then just move on with your day. That's probably definitely the best song in my opinion on the album.
Yeah, and actually, my surprise was that I didn't know that they had an intro, an extra little intro that leads into the saxophone playing. So that was like really cool. Of like, wait, is this like a listening to it? I was like, is this a non-sax version of Careless Whisper, and then like finally the sax comes in. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like I maybe the radio version or maybe his like single version of it has a different version where it doesn't have the intro, but yeah, that was really interesting. I also did a little bit of history into it, and found out that it took 9 saxophone players to nail the saxophone riff, because George was like singing the riff, but no saxophone player, or at least the first 8, could not replicate the sound that he was wanting out of it, that he originally made in his demo. And eventually, got the right saxophone guy, but the saxophonist had to do it in a lower key because his saxophone could not hit the high note that they wanted there. So he did it lower, and then they, raised it up after it was recorded to match the right pitch. So I thought that was really cool.
Kind of makes you wonder what the song would sound like if they didn't take those measures in post-production.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think a lot of people are more familiar with like the radio edit where it just starts with the sax riff, but definitely one of the more iconic, some people could argue the most iconic, saxophone riff. And that was kind of the theme in the 80s a little bit was pop or pop rock, but with heavy, woodwind sound, whether it's the flute or the saxophone. And so definitely interesting to see what went behind the scenes here, but kind of makes you wonder what this album would look like or sound like if they didn't have Careless Whisper on it. But a couple final thoughts from me. I think Like a Baby, it's the last song on side A. That one, it's odd to me. It's like it's 4 minutes long, and like 3 minutes is just instrumental, and then George Michael doesn't start singing until like the last minute. But it doesn't seem like it goes anywhere. It feels kind of like an interlude between side A and side B, but Freedom doesn't match that energy, and Heartbeat doesn't match that energy, and so I didn't pick the songs, I didn't pick the order, but I probably wouldn't have put it there, but I think it's decent. I think it's a decent album. It's got very good hits. I mean, it's not one that you would play front to back. It's not a concept album, but Tony, final thoughts.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, the hits is really what makes it. And I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of Freedom, but with everything she wants, that one did stick out of a single that I didn't know but heard for the first time. I was like, okay, yeah, that's a good one. And then all the other songs, honestly, it didn't have a flow in terms of the album, and again, it just left me wanting to do like, all right, let's listen to the next song, or I'm not even paying attention anymore because the lyrics are just so, I don't know, elementary.
I was gonna say a little basic.
Yeah, but then you get to Careless Whisper, and you're like, oh wow, like the visuals, the way that he paints the picture of him being adulterous and everything like that, and
there's passion.
It's a clear difference between what he really cared about maybe with the singles, and then maybe just like throwing in miscellaneous songs that he just had to fill an album.
Yeah, kind of. That's what I was about to say. Is it kind of feels like Careless Whisper is kind of like the passion project of this album, and everything else was. And like I said, he wrote 6 out of 8 songs. One of them he wrote with somebody else, and one they didn't write at all. But the other 7 kind of feel like they went to the studio, and the bosses that be were like, "Hey, we need to have these pop tracks out soon," and so they kind of just pushed through them. And they sound like that. I mean, they're good songs. Don't get me wrong; they're good songs, but they're not songs that they don't have any metaphors. They're not a snapshot of reality at that time. You could argue that a lot of the content of the lyrics in these songs are what you hear on the radio today, because it's just a winning formula. People like love songs. People like breakup songs. People like a lot of the songs that are on this album. But we cannot underestimate the value that Careless Whisper brings to this album. Yeah. But Tony, any extra thoughts about the album?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, stay tuned for next week, but go ahead and sound off in the comments. Tell us what you think about this album. Do you think this was a good album, bad album? Is there songs you like, songs you didn't like? Do you just let us know in the comments. All right. Thank you.